Deep in the humid, tangled forests of northern Sulawesi, Indonesia, there are whispers of an ancient spirit. A creature so terrifying, just one look is a death sentence. But lately, on the internet, this local legend has been given a new name, a global identity. So how did a secluded forest guardian become an international horror icon?
So here's the big question that's been buzzing online. Is this creature, Kalumba, actually an Indonesian version of Baphomet? I mean, you look at them side by side and the resemblance is pretty unsettling. To get to the bottom of this, we've got to dig into two completely different stories that have somehow, mysteriously, smashed into each other. First things first, we need to go to Indonesia. We have to meet the original Kalumba, a figure that's way more complex than just some scary meme.
And right away, you see something that might surprise you. Kalumba wasn't originally some evil demon. In Gorontalo, it was known as a penjaga hutan, a guardian of the forest. People believed it was the incarnation of their wise ancestors, there to protect the natural world, living in those damp, shadowy places where the forest is wildest. But okay, this guardian is designed to be absolutely terrifying. And it works. It has the form of a goat, sure, but its body is inverted, totally twisted and unnatural. It moves impossibly fast, but always backwards, a dead giveaway that it's not from our world. And the local belief is crystal clear. If you see Kalumba, it's already too late for you. And this is where the story takes a darker turn. Kalumba is tied to a practice called pesugihan. It's a kind of Indonesian black magic where you can make a pact with a spirit to get incredibly rich, but it always comes with a terrible price. The deal sounds almost easy at first. A shaman can keep Kalumba as a supernatural sidekick. All they have to do is feed it some simple coconut dregs. But here's the catch. If you forget, just once, the pact is broken, and the creature doesn't just leave, it turns on your family, draining their life force until they become pale, empty shells of themselves. Okay, let's step out of the Indonesian jungle for a minute and turn to the other half of our puzzle, Baphomet. Where did this world-famous goat-headed figure actually come from? Baphomet's history is a wild ride. It started back in the 14th century, not as a creature, but just as a word, probably a garbled version of Muhammad that the Knights Templar were accused of worshipping. It took until 1856 for the occultist Eliphas Levi to draw the famous goat image we all know. And it wasn't until 1969 that the Church of Satan made it their official logo, which pretty much sealed its fate as a modern horror icon. But here's the thing. There's a huge gap between what Baphomet was supposed to be and what it became. Levi saw his drawing as a complex symbol of balance. Good and evil, male and female, humanity and nature, all in one. But pop culture doesn't really do nuance. So over time, it got flattened into just a straightforward, purely evil monster. So we have two very different goat-like figures. One is a specific forest guardian from Indonesia tied to local beliefs. The other is a Western occult symbol that became a horror movie trope. How in the world did these two get connected? Well, the link isn't in some dusty old book of lore. The answer is found at the movies. The year was 2013. A found-footage horror anthology called VHS2 hit theaters, and one of its segments would end up accidentally rewriting a piece of Indonesian folklore forever. That segment was called Safe Haven. It's absolutely insane. It follows a film crew that gets inside a weird Indonesian cult. The leader declares it's the time of reckoning, which leads to this horrifying, chaotic mass suicide. And why? They're doing it to summon a demon, which then gets born out of a pregnant woman in the middle of all the carnage. This massive, hulking, goat-headed demon stands up, looks right at the main character, the last guy left alive, and says one single chilling word: Papa. It's a moment that burned the image of an Indonesian Baphomet into the brains of horror fans all over the world. And that's it. That's the missing link. The movie never actually says the creature's name, but because it looked so much like the popular image of Baphomet, everyone just assumed that's what it was. And suddenly, this idea of an Indonesian Baphomet wasn't just a theory, it was a terrifying image that started spreading like wildfire online. And from there, this piece of movie fiction started to bleed into the real world, totally changing how a new generation of people understood the old legend of Kalumba. The change was drastic. You can see it right here. The original Kalumba, a forest guardian, a symbol of local wisdom from Gorontalo, was basically erased and replaced. The new viral Kalumba is just a satanic demon, a global horror icon completely torn away from its home and its history. So how did this happen so fast? It was basically a perfect storm. You had two things that looked kind of similar. The goat form. You had a huge cinematic push from a popular horror movie, and then you had the power of the internet to spread that image everywhere. It was the perfect recipe for creating a brand new myth. All of this leaves us with a really fascinating and maybe kind of troubling final thought. Kalumba is way more famous now than it ever was, but it's famous for being a copy of something else. So it makes you wonder, when a local myth goes viral, what do we really gain? And what parts of its original soul get lost along the way?